Welcome, everybody. I'm Janet Lee Sheriff with Mind in America. And today we are chatting with Mr. Paul Goranson, CEO of enCore Energy, about the recent permits that have been announced and startup plans for production at Rosita. Hi, Paul.
Janet, how are you doing?
Well, I'm wonderful. We don't get to spend enough time together, so this is great.
Fantastic. Yeah, I agree. Looking forward to the conversation.
Oh, thanks so much. Hey, some fantastic news for enCore with the 10-year renewal of your permit. If you could give a little bit of information. I know this is huge, and I know it's important because it actually expands the permit.
Yeah, so it's a renewal of the radioactive materials license that currently we hold for our South Texas operations, not Alta Mesa, but our other South Texas operations. And this license renewal, it updates the license to current requirements and the state of the properties, but also it allows us the ability to add additional satellite ion exchange plants to feed the Rosita Central Processing Plant. It also allows us to add in other remote ion exchange facilities. That's, for example, our Upper Spring Creek project, et cetera. It allows us to be able to deliver those uranium-loaded resins to Rosita for processing in the yellowcake, and it's a big deal for us because it really expands the capability and the ability to utilize Rosita from a lot of different aspects as well. So it's good news.
Yeah, and important because projects like Upper Spring are new over the past couple of years, so wouldn't have been in the original permit, right?
That's correct. They're totally new. They weren't connected to the permit that exists now. So by adding that capability to incorporate them as amendments to the license is a big deal, and that's what this allows us to do.
Well, that's fabulous news and a huge team effort by your team down in Corpus Christi. One question I have is, so this is all for in-situ recovery, correct?
Sure. Yes. That's
and
correct.
enCore is solely focused on in-situ recovery. There, I'm stumbling.
Yes, enCore, we are 100% focused on in-situ recovery for all of our primary projects, and we believe it's the best, most efficient and economic approach to go after these deposits we have in our portfolio. So definitely this is a key step.
Okay. And geez, I want to say near-term production, but it sounds at Rosita, but it sounds like near-term is moving quickly to a different term.
Yeah, that term would be production.
Production. That is
actual production. Yeah. Yeah.
Very exciting. Next producer in the U.S.
Right. That's what we've been aiming for, and it's been a full court press by a huge team of really dedicated individuals within the company. We also have to throw out a shout out to the state of Texas as well as to working with us as a regulatory agency to assure that all of the timing for all the permit steps and everything were hit on the mark so that there wouldn't be any delays. And so I got to say thank you to them as well.
Now, how long did it take to put that permit through the system? Because it sounds like it moved fairly efficiently, and a great reflection on doing business in Texas.
It did. We submitted the original application in April of 2022. We amended it back in July to add in the additional satellite ion exchange facilities. So technically it started back in July. So it's been a little over a year, but the other thing we have to consider is that the license has been in what we call timely renewal for better than nearly 2 decades. And as a result, there was a whole lot of updates to the license that had to be done to reflect real conditions. Took a bit of back and forth with the state, but they were very proactive in their questions and the way we were able to provide the answers to them, such that, where this could have taken a 2 or 3 year time period to get this renewal done, we were able to get it done in just over a year. And then, because it is a major amendment, we had to go through a public process where it was noticed and and allow people to make comments, potentially even request a hearing. None of which happened. Well, we had one set of comments which were fairly minor, and but most of it was it went as the schedule put it together. And I would say that at a time when a regulatory agency, TCEQ, is struggling to bring on new people and replace retiring people, I think it was a great effort on everybody's part to get this done, in spite of some of the challenges or outside this particular permitting action.
Yeah. Kudos to the state of Texas. They really continually show that they want to do business. And I know you've taught me a lot about Texas being an agreement state on nuclear energy, but this really is a state issue right here. And yeah, congratulations. Um, I would love to talk a little bit on a high level about in-situ recovery. I know your career has been focused on that extraction process. And I'm sure that there's people that have some questions about how it works. We've tried to at enCore really convey that information. But tell me a little bit about your background in situ recovery, because you've really been decades in this process.
Yeah, I've been involved in the in situ recovery side of the business, the uranium business, since 1987 as a reservoir engineer, and that was to begin understanding the bulk of the development with respect to in situ recovery was really driven by the oil and gas industry. And so a lot of the terminology we use, et cetera, it comes from that side of the business. Or when we talk about energy business itself, rather than the mining, it's more the terminology we use comes from the oil and gas side. And so me being a petroleum engineer by training, it wasn't a big leap to jump into the in situ recovery side, because of the fact that it uses a lot of the same type of transport mechanisms that we use in the oil and gas industry. Even though the product's different, we're moving water rather than petroleum products, the principles and the physics are effectively the same. So the transition was fairly straightforward. And so a lot of what I learned back in 1987, I still apply every day, even though I'm not in the field, I still am able to apply that experience to my today's activities.
And my understanding of your background in the industry was in situ recovery came in the 60s and 70s. It was on smaller scale projects, but you've really taken that technology in your background and applied it to larger projects. Is that a fair statement?
It is a fair statement. The reason is that the economics have changed dramatically. Back in the early 80s, a lot of the projects were small because they were just basically effectively side business for oil and gas companies.
Okay.
And they weren't done at a scale to be based on economics. They were based solely on very discrete budgetary decisions, et cetera. As enCore being solely a uranium production company using in situ, we have to look at things from a perspective of scale. So we need not just a couple of 100,000 pounds in the ground to put a wellfield on and produce that. We need much larger capabilities to be able to scale up our production in order to get the economic recoveries we need to provide. And but also it allows us the scalability to be able to be a significant market driver in the industry. And if you're doing it just a couple 100,000 pounds a year, it's not making much of an impact, and the revenue is low. But if you're doing 1 million, 2 million, or 3 million pounds a year, that's much more significant. But also it provides you the ability to market the company to our customers as being a resilient and a long-term reliable supplier, which you couldn't do with small operations.
Okay, I get it. So, non-technical layman terms, ISR inject oxygenated water into the well field. Uranium is attracted to the oxygen, liquefies, goes into the plant. How long is the process in the plant until you have yellow cake out the other end?
Once we're up and running and production is going as we expect, so let's leave out the ramp up period and the startup period. It takes roughly 72 hours for a
Wow.
pound of uranium on resin to be stripped off the resin to become yellow cake. It's fairly fast. It's a simple batch-wise process. And when we're at capacity, it's moving pretty fast through the system. And so there's not much in process time until we get to the yellow cake stage. Because it's concentrated at that point, we can store more yellow cake than we can resin because of the volumes and size. So we want to get it off the resin as fast as possible, get it into yellow cake, and then we can manage it through our yellow cake holding vessels as well as our drying capacity.
Okay. And how heavy is a drum of yellow cake?
They're roughly about 750 pounds. It can be a little more, a little less. We have requirements to ship to the converter. The minimum size is 500 pounds up to 1,000 pounds. Anything within that range is considered to be acceptable. And we want to have as much in each drum as possible because we have to remember we're shipping this by truck. And we got a fixed volume of drums we can put on a truck. So we want as many pounds on that truck as we possibly can to get the economic value up to a threshold, because we do have road weights we have to be cognizant of. But everything's done to get as much out of the capacity we have to get our material to market.
So when it leaves the plant, is it now with the utility company?
No. So when it leaves the plant, it leaves on truck. It goes up to a conversion facility. In North America, we have, or in the United States, we have Commodine, which is located in Metropolis, Illinois. So that's roughly a 1,200-mile drive. And the trucks literally go straight through because they're carrying exclusive use, the way the trucks are placarded. And they'll go straight to the converter and be offloaded. And from there, it's credited to our account. So we have an account which says we have X number of pounds of uranium at the converter. That's what we sell. Once it's there at the converter, basically we have an account we can draw from to sell to our utility customers. And then then the drums all get weighed and sampled. And then we get basically a complete assay. And from that assay, we know exactly the precise amount of uranium we have, less than anything we've sold already. So I know it sounds a bit complicated and there's quite a bit of lag time, but it's a common practice in our business, how we manage our inventories and sell.
Okay. Yeah, in my simplistic view of it, I'm kind of comparing it to when a gold mine ships gold to the refinery, and that's when they get their credit.
Right.
So similar type of model. Okay, I get it.
Right.
You must be pretty happy about Rosita reopening.
I am. Well, it's been a while since it's operated. So it hadn't operated since 2007 or 2008. And so that's been quite a while. But also I was part of Rosita when it started up. I helped construct it back in 1990 and we started up in 1991. And I worked out there off and on through 1997. And so it has a long history with me. And so it's good to see it restarted. And some of the people we have working out there right now were involved when it was operating in the past. So it's good to kind of complete that full circle and be able to see it operate again. When 5 years ago, we thought the industry wasn't going anywhere. And now we see it restarting and bringing value back to the local community. And bringing jobs back into a county that needs a job. So it's really exciting for me on that part.
Yeah. I'm very pleased for you. Looking forward to the restart coming up very quickly. And then I know you're on to Alta Mesa, another part of your background as well.
That's right. So I don't think it's been a secret that I've been associated with Alta Mesa since it started up, and I started back there in 2004 when it was literally cow pasture, and brought that into production and operated it. And we've got it back into the fold, and we're starting to restore it back to operation. We want to get it restarted in early 2024, and that way we can. And we're going to, with everything we have and experience we've learned, like with supply chain issues from Rosita, we've been able to apply those to Alta Mesa avoid some of those issues that we dealt with in the past. And it's worked out really well. And I'm very excited, looking forward to it. In fact, this is Alta Mesa has always been one of my favorite ISR operations. I've been in Wyoming and other places in the country, but it's one I keep coming back to as the one that I see has the most value to new production and long-term production. And it's exciting.
Well, I'm excited. I'm a little biased, I have to admit. Oh.
Yeah.
It is wonderful working with you, Paul, and I'm very happy for you. I'm happy for the company, and again, congratulations on the permit that was announced earlier this week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Come back again.
Thank you. I
like asking some basic questions to help my level of understanding. So I thank you for the education.
Absolutely. My pleasure. And I enjoy doing this very much.
Well, thanks. And thanks everyone for joining us. We'll talk to Paul again. Paul Goranson, enCore Energy. Thank you.